Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Wavelength.
Mental illness doesn't have to be a life sentence.
Alcohol addiction, abuse, misuse is the same all over the globe.
Sparking the convos about Adelaide.
So it made me feel very confident that if we did have it in the state, we were going to know about it.
You should be having.
There'll be guys that are trained, but they don't feel like they're good enough to take their shirt off.
Almost everyone is a culprit of doom scrolling. Anyone who has a mobile phone.
On Fresh 92.7.
Welcome to Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having. I'm your host, David, and tonight I'm joined by Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing. I'm a bit starstruck.
I heard.
So I was walking to the studio just now and I walked past Dev Patel.
No way.
Who's my favourite actor of all time. God, that man is beautiful.
He is.
And there's a recurring theme when I see my favourite celebrities. I always look like a genuine hobo. Like right now, I look like absolute trash.
I disagree, but continue.
Oh, stop it. And just, you know what? He looked at me. I gave him a creepy smile, but I'll take that as a win because he looked at me. So, haha.
I can't believe because I knew that he is in Adelaide and everyone seems to see him except for me.
Like, just walking down Rundle Street, like just in a sweater, just like you'd every day.
Yeah, why not?
Beautiful man.
I mean, it's a good place to live if you're a celebrity, in my opinion. Because
Totally.
I don't think people in Adelaide really give a shit.
I just don't think they do. Like, they genuinely don't care. They're just like, oh, okay.
It's like, well...
It's like, sorry, but I went to St. Peter's Boys, so...
It's like, oh, you're famous, but... I know it was a low blow. I'll let
my dad owns a bank, so... Oh, Dev Patel is so beautiful. I actually gave him the most creepy smile. Like, I think I just, like, this real creepy, like just staring into his soul. Just been like, oh, my God.
Dev Patel, if you're out there.
If you're out there, we love you.
We love you.
And I just watched Slumdog Millionaire. Great film. I cry every time. And Lion. Oh, God.
Oh yeah, classics.
Just masterpieces.
Thanks for brightening up Adelaide, Dev.
Oh, God, that smile. Tonight on Wavelength, we're chatting with a couple of South Australian young achievers doing some amazing things for our state.
That's right. Wavelength is also going to explain the Free Britney Spears movement and why it just got a major boost this week from the pop star herself. But next, we're going to let you know what the latest South Australian budget means for us. You're listening to Fresh.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having. We hope you're having a great Monday. So the state budget was released this week, detailing the government's proposed roadmap out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So Arj spoke with Di Dixon, state project leader from the Lot 14, about the exciting opportunities the space has in terms of development opportunities, as well as how the recently released budget can help young South Australians find work.
Wavelength on Fresh 92.7.
So, Di, what is your role with the DPC?
So, my role at Lot 14 is the state project lead. So, on behalf of the Premier, managing all elements of the precinct's development. So that's the infrastructure delivery and current demolition works, the future curation of tenants and activities and programming on site, and the longer-term governance and how the precinct will operate way into the future.
So now I understand that there's been a number of tech conglomerates that have signed on with Lot 14 already. I believe Amazon and Google have signed up.
That's correct. We have Amazon, Google, both here already in the precinct, located, working here alongside our other tenants. There's about just under 1,200 tenants here on site already within the refurbished heritage buildings, which are now fully operational.
And what's the capacity for tenants that can occupy Lot 14?
So at the moment, it's the refurbished heritage building. So we've got the final one, the BICE building, coming online next month, and that'll give us a bit more capacity. So that'll probably take us up to around the 1,400 mark. Longer term, though, once we get the new wave of new developments, which will start construction later this year, once they're all in place and the future development of the precinct, it's probably got about capacity for over 6,000 people to work here, depending on the types of buildings that we end up with.
So how has the state budget that was recently released, how has that affected any sort of development project that you guys have been planning there?
It's really probably just reinforced and strengthened the vision and the success that the precinct's really evolved and shown over the last couple of years. And I came from another precinct interstate, and I can strongly attest to the fact that these precincts don't usually move at such a pace. So for it to have done that and continue to do that through COVID has been pretty amazing, and something that South Australians should be aware of. Isn't what normally happens, but the budget that's now been announced just reinforces the already high level of commitment we've already got.
Now, one thing else I wanted to sort of touch your brain about, less so in terms of your actual role when it comes to Lot 14. Now, the state has recorded and continually record some of the worst unemployment rates in the country. Now, in terms of reskilling for jobs that might be made available through the Lot 14 development, how viable is that for South Australians, and particularly young South Australians who are often leaving the state with their various skills in search of work?
Well, that's really the whole essence of Lot 14 as a sort of startup, emerging industry-focused sector precinct. So we're really predominantly, we are focused on that space, cyber, high-tech industry areas, because we know that those are the industries that are going to grow into the future, and we need to be supporting those startup companies in that space, which has happened. It's very quickly demonstrated the need to upskill people, and to start that, we can't start that soon enough, basically. The demand for these skills are real now by businesses we have on site. We've actually created a jobs portal specific for Lot 14 on the Lot 14 website for the very reason that our tenants we have here are starting to grow. They need these skills. Some of those skills exist, but it's also indicated and been a great indicator to government of the need to look at how we start addressing the skill basis, whether it's through vocational training, micro-credentials or universities. And we're actually looking at one of our projects being focused in that cyber security training space, so that we can not only be providing the jobs, but making sure we're putting in place the skill generating ability as well. So we've got that full pipeline so that people can study, stay and work in Adelaide in South Australia.
All right, Di, thank you so much for joining me for that conversation just about Lot 14 and what sort of offerings that has for young South Australians, especially those who are looking for work or those transitioning from one industry to another.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having on Fresh 92.7.
That was Arj chatting with Di Dixon. Anyway, coming up after the break, we'll be cracking into our main story of the evening about some of SA's youngest and brightest. You're listening to Wavelength on Fresh 92.7.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength with David and Jamie tonight, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having. So earlier this year, Jamie, you and I were very lucky and we were invited along to the South Australian Young Achiever Awards, and it was a fantastic night.
Oh, it was a fantastic night. The food was great.
Oh, it was great.
3 courses.
The drinks weren't bad.
Nice dresses.
Infinite free drinks, essentially.
And they were just like walking around. They just kind of like, they just stopped asking after a while and just put the wine bottles on the table because they knew.
I think our table was the rowdiest.
I know. And Zane, our boss, did an amazing job presenting too.
He did.
Oh, what a man.
Love Zane. Anyway, I don't know about you, Jamie, but I was totally blown away by the amount of talent on display that night. I was just so
blown away. It's actually so incredible how many young people are doing some really incredible things for SA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. It makes me want to get my life together.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, when you're like...
it makes you question everything you've been doing.
It's like people that are younger than you that are like, that win awards, where you're kind of like, you're just bitter.
I felt a bit bitter.
You're like, wait, nah.
But at the same time, I was like...
Good for you.
I don't know how they do it. It's pretty impressive.
It was incredible.
Well, we decided to chat with a couple of these young achievers. First, Hamish spoke with Tessa Deek, and she's a massive advocate for the chronically ill and disabled and lives with chronic fatigue syndrome herself. Her resume includes being a youth ambassador at Headspace. She also founded the Wellness and Wellbeing Festival, facilitates a disability inclusion training in workplaces, and has set up a chronic illness support on the Limestone Coast, which is a support network for those living with chronic illnesses. What?
Like,
how?
That's incredible.
Insane.
How does she have time to do her groceries?
We actually sat on the table with her at the awards, so I feel very connected to this.
She was great.
She was fantastic. She took out the Rural Doctors Workforce Agency Rural Health Award on the night, which is very impressive.
Oh, that was so nice.
Anyway, here's Hamish.
Wavelength. on Fresh 92.7.
So I'm in the studio today with Tessa Deek, who is an advocate for the chronically ill and disabled, and just recently took out the Rural Doctors Workforce Agency Rural Health Award at the Young Achievers Awards for this year, for 2021. So basically, Tessa, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself? You've got quite the resume, quite the run sheet of experience. Could you just break that down for our listeners?
Sure. I'm 21 from Mount Gambier, so regional South Australia, about 5 hours from Adelaide. I do lots of different bits and pieces in the region, mostly volunteer work, and about chronically ill, disabled, or mental health, or just health in general. So that has included quite a few different projects and organisations, including Headspace. Recently started working for Purple Orange. Lots of different bits and pieces. As you said, I've got quite a resume going at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. It's pretty comprehensive. Just touching on the award that you've just recently taken out of the 2021 Young Achievers Award, how did that feel to take out that award that night?
Oh, super shocking. It was, quite hilarious, and really, I was incredibly honoured and very, very grateful. It was a lot of fun. It was a really great night, and I was on the table with the Fresh 92.7 team, so they were really quite a hype team, and it was a really, really fun night.
Yeah, it was. It was good fun. I was there at the table with you and your partner, and yeah, it was good. We tried to get behind you and create a lot of noise. To me, you're a very worthy winner. So, as I said before, you're a huge advocate for those who are chronically ill or living with a disability. Tessa, why is this so close to your heart?
I personally have a chronic illness which causes a lot of disability. I've had it since I was 14. I have chronic fatigue syndrome, but I refer to it as ME, or myalgic encephalomyelitis. Yeah, it affects me in a lot of ways, and it just changed the path I was going to take coming out of school and pushed me onto the path that I have been. So, yeah, using it as a way to advocate for people like me and trying to make a difference in the lives of my community.
You have gone on to achieve so much and do so much in regards to raising awareness around chronic illnesses and how much they can affect an individual and their day-to-day lives. So I know you've done a number of things like the ME Awareness Night, the Chronic Illness Support Limestone Coast, and the Wellness and Wellbeing Festival. Could you just tell us a little bit more about those things and your work in those areas?
It all sort of started with the ME Awareness Night, which was a night that my mum and I hosted to shed some light on what ME is and how it affects a person, and I shared my personal story and my journey before we showed Unrest, and it's a really great movie that really represents chronic illness and autoimmune diseases. From there I started the Chronic Illness Support Limestone Coast, which is a support group. We mostly do sport things and then also do get-togethers in person, and then we hosted the Wellness and Wellbeing Festival in 2019 and 2020, which was run in Mount Gambier.
What is it that you hope to achieve with your continued work in this field? So, I guess, how do you hope to challenge people's perceptions around chronic illness and disability?
There's just so much misrepresentation and stigma in all of these areas. Like, mental health is still super stigmatised. With chronic illness, that's another one where it's just so misunderstood. People often are really afraid of disability and chronic illness and mental health. I guess just things that they don't quite understand or might not have been exposed to. So I guess I just want people to know that these things are normal. Look,
Tessa, I just want to thank you so much for coming on today and having a chat with us.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having on Fresh 92.7.
That was Hamish speaking with Tessa Deek, who won the Rural Doctors Workforce Agency Rural Health Award at the 2021 SA Young Achiever Awards. What an amazing person, 21 years old and doing all that.
It's absolutely incredible.
When I was 21, I was not doing anything that impressive. I was
still living at home. I was just bumming off mum still.
Red Square?
I told you that in confidence, off air.
Apparently we were her hive team.
I know, that's so sweet. It was really cool seeing her face light up when she won that award. Like, just totally deserves it.
I was so happy because
It was like, oh yeah, someone on our table won. We're on a champion table.
But we'll take that as a collective win. It's a team effort, all right? There's no I in team.
Well, the table was all fresh and then Tessa and her partner. And we were the best table.
We were the fun table.
Oh, definitely.
Or the annoying table.
Probably
whichever way you want to look at it. Later on in the show, we're speaking with Trudy Lynn, who took out the overall award at the Young Achievers Awards this year. But up next, Hamish will be letting you know all about this week's news. You're listening to Fresh 92.7.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength. We'll be getting right back into our story about SA's talented young achievers very soon, but now we're cracking into our weekly segment where Hamish explains what the hell has happened this week.
What the hell is going on this week? Wavelength on Fresh 92.7.
Yes, that's right, Australia. He's back. Barnaby f***ing Joyce has somehow clawed his way out of the bucket of disease-ridden crabs that is Australian politics and wrenched back his title as Deputy Prime Minister. As the nation collectively asked themselves, wait, what just happened? Mr. Joyce was sworn in where he was adorably upstaged by one of his most recent love children. In all fairness, it was Bring Your Kids to Work Day, but he could only bring the one, as the others were all with their mothers. It's unfortunate because if they had all rocked up, Mr. Joyce would have had enough of them to consider a leadership spill. In other horrible news, the concerning new COVID cluster in Sydney and its Delta strain has run riot this week, with reports Delta hasn't been this contagious since Innocent Eyes came out in 2003. Premier Gladys Berejiklian was finally forced to concede that a lockdown may be needed, but because we're talking about Sydney here, it's not a lockdown, it's just being COVID safe. Meanwhile, the rest of us are starting to feel like New South Wales, whose Bondi Beach has remained as populous as ever, hasn't been taking this whole COVID thing very seriously since the beginning. Also, Britney Spears made her first public statement in years, speaking out about the abhorrent treatment towards her by her father and the crippling control he holds over every aspect of her finances and personal freedoms. And it's starting to seem like we really should have listened to this guy.
Leave Britney alone! Please!
Finally, John Howard was exhumed from his grave to be the next old privileged white male to insist Australia doesn't have a problem with racism, using the 2005 Cronulla riots as his primary piece of evidence. And yeah, we're not feeling it. Johnny boy, why couldn't we just keep our memory of you as a funny little man with big eyebrows and a hilarious choice in tracksuits? Oh well. And that's what the hell has been going on this week.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having on Fresh 92.7.
Thanks for that, Hamish. You're listening to Fresh 92.7.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength with David and Jamie tonight. So tonight we've been celebrating some of the state's best and brightest young people.
We've definitely got a really special state here, and no one sums it up better than the Young Achiever of 2021. Hamish spoke with Dr. Trudy Lynn, a special needs dentist working at the Adelaide Dental Hospital, one of only 5 in the state.
Wavelength on Fresh 92.7.
We are talking with Dr. Trudy Lynn this afternoon, a consultant for special needs dentistry at SA Dental or the Adelaide Dental Hospital, and also a clinical tutor for bachelor dental surgery. Trudy, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your story? At just 28 years old, you've already accomplished so much. Where does your story begin?
Thank you for that question. Well, my journey into dentistry actually starts in childhood. My dad has a condition called tetracycline staining, which affects his teeth. So I grew up seeing firsthand the huge impact that oral health has on a person's entire life. So this led to me developing this passion to pursue a career in dentistry. Then in my final year of dental school, I undertook a rotation in the special needs unit at the Adelaide Dental Hospital. And having had multiple family members who fought their own cancer battles and my youngest brother being diagnosed with autism, I was deeply drawn to this area of special needs dentistry where we could provide care for these vulnerable people who face challenges similar to mine and my family's lived experience. So in only my second year after graduation, I managed to find my way back to work in that same special needs unit, and I have been there ever since.
That's so awesome. That's so cool. And I really love the connection to your own personal story. And as you said, that shared lived experience that you've been exposed to and how that's kind of defined your path and shaped it in a certain way. And I got to admit, personally, special needs dentistry, it's not even something I've really actually thought about, how it's obviously quite a different specialised field. In your short time as a practicing doctor, what have been some of the highlights of your career?
Obviously, the Young Achiever Awards is a really big achievement, but it's something that I owe to all the people that have supported me throughout this journey. Family, friends, the colleagues that I work with in the unit, and my patients. But the things that really stand out to me when you ask me about highlights in my career and achievements is actually not really those kind of accolades, but more the stories of the patients that used to only be able to have treatment under general anaesthesia because of their behavioural challenges, and me working with that person to avoid those potential health risks of them undergoing general anaesthesia and helping them to be able to comply with treatment in the chair through just building a relationship, building that trust, getting to know the person and what can help them feel comfortable, communicating in a way that truly speaks to them so that we can enable them to have treatment without needing to undergo the risks under general anaesthesia. So there are risks associated with general anaesthesia for people that have dementia because it can progress their dementia, but then also there are extra risk factors for people that have cardiac conditions, heart conditions, as well as breathing problems because of the risk to their airway. And so there are a lot of things that we consider in using other strategies to be able to provide them safe and effective care. But then one of the other reasons we like to avoid general anaesthesia is because of the fact that it means that we're able to increase the access to their care in the long term, because then it means that they'll be able to access care at a facility in their community, which is a lot closer to home, by a general dentist, as opposed to always needing to undergo a repeat general anaesthesia procedure at a dental hospital.
You should be really proud of yourself, Trudy. You're a pretty amazing person, and it's been a real privilege speaking with you. The work you're doing, I think, is really incredible, and it's very inspiring, and I personally look up to what you do very much. I think, more needs to be done in this space.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having on Fresh 92.7.
That was Hamish speaking with the winner of the SA Young Achiever Award, Dr. Trudy Lynn. Such an inspiring story, and just makes me feel good that we've got all these amazing people in Adelaide doing these great things.
I know. Keep it up, guys.
Yeah.
We've still got plenty of Wavelength left for you guys tonight, so stay tuned. You're listening to Fresh.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having.
Right now we've got our weekly segment called Wavelength Explains. This week Amila is going to explain why the Free Britney movement just got a major boost from the pop star herself this week.
Wavelength Explains on Fresh 92.7.
I know it's hard to see Britney Spears as a human being, but trust me, she is. She's a person. She's like you or I.
Back in 2007, the infamous Leave Britney Alone YouTube video by Chris Crocker became an internet meme. But in hindsight, his words are now the blueprint for many hashtag Free Britney supporters who want to see her gain independence. Under incredible stress from divorce, custody battles, media scrutiny, and constant paparazzi, Britney Spears shaved her head in front of the whole world. That same year, in 2008, she was placed into a conservatorship. Legally, the state has deemed Britney Spears incapable of taking care of herself, despite the fact she is able to perform at the highest levels of the entertainment industry. The conservatorship granted her father, Jamie Spears, the power to control her personal life up until 2019. After a health scare, a court-appointed specialist now makes those decisions. However, he still plays a role in determining her finances. During her testimony to the court, she wanted to detail about how every aspect of her life is under control. Spears claimed she was made to take medications and perform against her will, was prohibited from getting married, and could not remove her IUD in order to have another child. When giving her testimony, she opened up about her struggles.
After I've lied and told the whole world I'm okay and I'm happy, it's a lie. I thought maybe I said that enough. Maybe I might become happy because I've been in denial. I've been in shock. I am traumatized. You know, fake it till you make it. But now I'm telling you the truth, okay? I'm not happy. I can't sleep. I'm so angry, it's insane, and I'm depressed. I cry every day, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I don't think how the state of California can have all this written in the court documents from the time I showed up and do absolutely nothing. Just hire with my money another person to keep my dad on board.
So what happens next? Like most legal cases, nothing is over yet. In order to get out of the conservatorship, Britney Spears is facing a long process that could take years. The next hearing will be on July 14, where it is unknown to what extent the court will address Spears' testimony and her request for the conservatorship to end.
I'm not lying. I just want my life back, and it's been 13 years and it's enough. It's been a long time since I've owned my money, and it's my wish and my dream for all of this to end.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having on Fresh 92.7.
That there was Amila talking about the latest in the Britney Spears saga.
Such an insane story. And I'm shocked, so sad
It is
about the things that she said.
They are weaponizing mental health, and they're exploiting her. It's exploiting female talent, her sexuality, her body, her reputation. Like, it's this vicious cycle of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy that this is legal.
I know.
Like,
she's 39.
It is ridiculous that this passed the court somehow, because the court had to sign off on this when she was going through a mental health crisis years ago, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
But the fact that the courts actually legalised it in the first place is just appalling. And something really interesting to think about is like how many other people this happens to.
I know.
Like, this is one case of a celebrity, so obviously it's getting a lot of traction, but there would be so many women in particular that are having reproductive rights controlled. You know, it sucks.
That's a fantastic point. And I mean, definitely, I'm fully free Britney. Free her. Free her from this awful prison she's in.
Well, like, remember that meme that came out years ago and of that guy crying? And he was like, leave Britney alone.
Yeah, he was right.
And he was right. And I just thought it was really funny at the time.
Yeah,
I was like, I thought someone was just real obsessed with her. But actually, like, he had to see it was a thing.
He was ahead.
He was ahead of the
by
times.
years.
Oh my God, I wonder what he's doing now.
I think he's still just sort of hanging around LA being
Just crying.
like a pseudo celebrity sort of thing.
Crying for Britney. Oh yeah, you probably would have you could cash that in.
I think he definitely did. And his name's Chris Crocker.
Oh my God, how do you know that?
How do you not know that?
What? I love that you know
Chris
that.
Crocker's an icon.
Oh my God. But yeah, no, back to the Britney thing. Full circle. God, we've gone on weird tangents sometimes. No, it's going to be really interesting to hear. Like, hopefully she gets full autonomy of her body and her money.
Please.
And it's the fact that it's her dad too. Like, that's just
disgusting.
Twisted.
It's evil.
It is evil.
Wavelength.
Welcome back to Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having.
Right now we've got our favourite weekly segment called Heaps Good News. This week Jarad has got the goods for us.
I know there's gonna be
Heaps Good News on Wavelength.
Hi everyone, I'm Jarad McLoughlin with another helping of Heaps Good News for you all to devour. In the UK, the universities of Southampton and Edinburgh have published a new study into the medicinal properties of coffee consumption. It found that drinking 3 to 4 cups of any blend per day reduces the likelihood of developing and dying from illnesses such as chronic liver disease, Parkinson's, melanoma, type 2 diabetes, and gallstones. Nearly 500,000 coffee connoisseurs partook in the study, which found 78% had consumed ground or instant caffeinated or decaffeinated blends, compared to 22% who said they didn't drink any type of coffee. The Kangaroo Island Dunnet, one of Australia's most endangered narrow-footed marsupials, has managed to defy the odds after 95% of their native habitat was decimated by last year's bushfires. Despite remaining under threat by feral cats, the Western River Refuge was established by wildlife conservationists and local landholders to ensure its survival through erecting a cat-proof exclusion fence to prevent them from being hunted. The refuge has since been declared completely free of feral cat predation last month, thus increasing the number of baby donuts, expanding into territories where they haven't been seen in decades. And in the United States, a 69-year-old fisherman from Roseburg, Oregon, has been rescued after spending 17 days trapped in the wilderness in the Twin Lakes area. Harry Burley was on a camping trip but was reported missing by his wife when he failed to return home. Miraculously, rescuers found him nearby a makeshift shelter where he had sustained minor injuries and was taken to hospital in a stable condition. Burley said what kept him alive was his love for his family and everything else. That's it for Heaps Good News for another week. Catch you all then.
Wavelength, sparking the convos about Adelaide you should be having on Fresh 92.7.
Thank you for that, Jarad. Always lovely to hear from you. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the show tonight. Thank you guys for listening.
What a wild roller coaster ride.
It's been a wild one. It's been certainly an unhinged show.
Make sure you've subscribed to the Wavelength podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that you get your podcasts. You can listen back to our old episodes right now, and you'll be the first to know when this episode goes up.
That's right. Thanks for joining me this week, Jamie.
Thank you.
We've got a month-long break, so you won't be hearing from Wavelength through July. We'll be back at the start of August, though.
We'll really miss you guys.
We will miss you guys. It's going to be a nice break, though. I'm not going to lie. And we'll be back with some incredible stories after the break. We'll get hard at work. For you.
For you. Just for you.
Just for you. You guys are listening to Fresh.
Wavelength.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.